Welcome to Learn, Chat, Share, the podcast where knowledge meets conversation. Hosted by Daniel Wathen.
Well, hello.
Hello.
So for the audience, we've been talking for an hour, so this is going to seem a little weird, us being fresh from the beginning. So my name is Daniel Wathen, and I am going to be interviewing Melissa Maher today. And she has graciously agreed to walk us through some of her advice on career and career advancement. I'll let you introduce yourself, so I don't want to steal your thunder.
Thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm Melissa Maher, and I'm the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Enterprises Group. And what we do at Pinnacle is we are a hospitality consulting and advisory company, and we also do executive leadership coaching. So I created this company a few years ago and used my experience from corporate America for the last 20 plus years at Expedia Group and in the hotel industry prior to that. And the reason I started the company was to really help individuals and leaders grow and develop and take my learnings and what I've experienced in the last couple of decades and put that into real action insights for the leaders that I work with.
Great, thank you. And for everyone watching, I give all of this for free. So I've known Melissa for a very long time. I had to say Melissa because I have another name for her anyway. And she's been instrumental in some of the career choices that I've made throughout my tenure at Expedia and beyond after. And so what we're going to do is walk through something near and dear to my heart. I have not been employed by a brick and mortar institution over the last year. And so she's been really great about providing some advice, talking me off the ledge and what have you. And so I think where this became very important for me was that there's a lot of folks that are experiencing that this year in 2025. And with everything in the news, there's going to be a lot of folks that are in the with layoffs from organizations impacted by the economy, and or if the government, there's going to be a lot of talented people that are going to be sort of in the sort of looking for jobs, etc. So to that end, for those that are in their positions and may have been working at a company for a long time, there's a point where you reach a ceiling within your current sort of career. So Melissa, what kind of advice would you give for folks to, do a self-assessment of what they should do next, how they should look at their career trajectory? I know a lot of folks talk about the career ladder, but maybe you can give us some insights as to how they should be approaching what their current roles are all about.
Absolutely. I love that question because, like you said, Daniel, so many people are going through this right now. And what you want to do is make sure that you're upskilling and up-leveling your experience to be in a position where you can use your new skills or the skills that you've been acquiring over the years. And one of the things that I see in a lot of my clients is they tend to stay within the same company and the same division for a long time. And while that's great, and most likely they love their jobs and the people that they work with, what happens is they forget to work their network. They forget to focus on upskills. They forget things like lateral moves or taking on cross-functional projects. And what happens when you look at lateral moves or cross-functional projects is it opens doors, opportunities, and it can lead to unexpected growth. So really think about building those skills in a non-traditional way. And I think one thing for me that I've learned throughout the years is really focusing on expanding your network in your current role, in your current division, but more importantly, outside of your current role, current division, or even current industry. Because when you look at expanding your network, it's looking at unconventional opportunities and things that you may not know are out there. And I just read an article recently that says 75% of people find their next role through their network. So I can't underscore how important building your network is. And again, in all varieties of ways. Also, part of expanding your network is looking at mentors, looking at sponsors, looking at people that will support you in recommending you for another job, recommending you for a stretch assignment. I have a lot of people that are younger in their career and they're scared to ask people to mentor them or sponsor them. Research shows that people want to help people. So don't be afraid to ask people for help, mentor them, do reverse mentorships, because that really can help you grow and help the person that is helping you mentor.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things that touched on me when you were saying that was the younger workforce. I think there's a lot of folks that are really risk averse right now. And the only way that we learn, this is what I believe, well, the only way we learn is through failure and how we, look at it, what we take from it, what we can do better from it, right? So, and a lot of interview questions are tied around like, where did you fail in the past? What did you learn from it? How did you correct it? That sort of thing. So, what kind of role do you think failure plays in career advancement?
I think it's phenomenal. And it's so weird to say that failure can be an asset, but failure really is a powerful teacher, because if you fail, then you're learning what not to do. I think the most important part of failure is having the mindset of when you fail, how do you reframe that as a learning experience? And if you have failed in the past, then get the negative self-talk out of your mind and really try to reframe it as a growth experience. If you look at a lot of the very successful leaders out there in the world, in corporate America, in all sorts of fields, they talk about failing. Oprah talks about failing all the time. She's done all right, so she's learned from her failures. Sarah Blakely from Spanx, the founder of Spanx, I read a story about her recently where at the dinner table, her father would sit down and say, "What did you fail at today?" So failing for her became something normal, and she was proud to talk about it. She learned from her failures, but really put that at the forefront of, I'm going to learn, I'm going to take risks, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone. So I am an absolute believer in failure. I'm also a believer in leaders like Sarah and Oprah and Simon Sinek and these people who have taken failure and talked about it openly. Because if you can't be vulnerable and talk about your failure, then you can't help others. And as you're talking about it, it seems a normal part of growth, which it really is. So I think failure is absolutely a powerful, powerful teacher.
And how would you take that sense of failure for those? I'll just talk about myself for a second, that are struggling to find that next new position, trying to interview with as many companies as possible and sort of hitting a roadblock, et cetera. So this is sort of two things, like how do you pull yourself up out of that feeling of failure and keep at it, and or how do you, I don't know, I'll just leave it at that.
That's an interesting question. When we fail, we get inside of our own head in that self-doubt and that negative self-talk. And everyone fails all the time. It doesn't matter who you are. I think the most important thing is turning that negativity into, like I said, reframing, but also think about the years, in the past few years, the past 5 years, the past 10 years. One of the exercises that I have my leaders do that go through my personal branding class is write down their top 10 accomplishments. And the first time that I did this, I got some really weird looks. And why are we talking about our accomplishments? Well, we all have accomplishments and we all have failures. When we fail, mindset goes into just failing. And it's really important to go back and look at history, look at the accomplishments that you've made, because you have a lot of accomplishments to get you to where you are today. So it's really, again, reframing and then going back and having that self-assessment of what you've done in the past and using that as a tool to reframe, moving on, and that you're not a failure, that you have tons of experience. So really thinking about that experience and utilizing that from a growth mindset standpoint.
It is hard though. to pull yourself up out of it. And so I think Melissa's actually known for saying that you need to have a posse. You need to have a good group of people around you. Luckily for me, she's that for me. So, I would say also in addition to that, Melissa, that like let yourself feel it and let yourself be motivated by it. Like talk to people that are going to pull you up and go, "You're crazy, Daniel." This is like when you're in the moment, you're not able to necessarily say, "Okay, well, I've accomplished X, Y, Z." But others that you surround yourself will remind you, "Hey, this is where your value is to me," or "This is what you were able to do for us at such and such a place." And so a big reminder to folks that you're not in it alone, and make sure that you use your network to try and pull you out of those sort of lower moments.
I love that you said that, because I think what's really important is if you let it fester in your mind. Let's say you get up, you have your cup of coffee in the morning, and then you let it fester in your mind that you're in that negative space. If you don't reach out to someone, it continues to fester. And it can be as simple as sending someone a text message. "Hey, help me with this." Talking to someone and getting that out there is really important. And to your point, they will remind you of the successes that you've had, or they will remind you of the great person that you are. And if you let it fester in your own mind, it just stirs and stirs and stirs. So I do think it is important to have that posse. What are those 3 to 5 people? What are those 8 to 10 people? Start building those posses when you're young in your career and not just when you need it. A lot of times people will wait until they need their posse, but we really need our posse all the time to have those strong, healthy relationships. But have that posse and then reach out and use your posse, because people want to help. And so if someone reaches out to you and they're having a really bad day, they're having self-doubt, and they want to help you get out of that. They want to help you move on from that.
Yes, and they have a much better opinion of you than you have of yourself.
Yes.
That's also good. Okay, so if someone's mid-career and they're having an existential crisis, because this does happen when you're in the middle, cross over 30 or you cross over 40 or you cross over 50, there's going to be that moment, especially for longer termed people that are in their positions for a long term. So how do you reinvent yourself mid-career?
I love that. That's a fun one. And I'm going through that right now as a fairly new entrepreneur. It is having a strong personal brand and knowing your strong personal brand, which part of that is knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, knowing your quirks, knowing your personality traits, knowing your values. If you have all of that mapped out, and you always should, and that's going to evolve and change. But if you know your strong personal brand and the traits that make your strong personal brand, then you have the confidence to go after new opportunities. Also, I think it's about knowing what skills will transfer between industries or between companies, and really thinking about those transferable skills and how you can use those. And then also always be learning, always be upskilling and up leveling and thinking about what's going on in the industry, what's going on in technology. Be up to speed on AI, for example. That's something that's moving at a rapid pace. Be familiar with that. So think about your personal brand to help build your confidence. Think about your transferable skills, and really think about insights and innovation and staying in tune with what's going on in the market, the industry, et cetera.
If you were to give someone 5 words, I'm putting you on the spot, we didn't talk about this, but 5 words that they should always, like sort of a mantra that they should say to themselves, especially if they're going through that existential crisis or they're coming up against a failure or they need to propel themselves in a career, what would those 5 words be?
Do those 5 words have to go in a row, or is just 5 individual words? Either.
Either, yes.
I would say confidence, network, risk, opportunity, and passion and fun. I think that was 6.
Gotta have fun.
I say passion and fun is, there's debates out here if you should follow your passion as you're changing careers. And I absolutely think that you should follow your passion. Clearly, I followed my passion in leading a company that develops people and supports people in their personal and professional growth. But if you're not having fun and you're not passionate about what you're doing, then it's going to just seem like another boring job. So all of your experience and all your skills are going to go to waste if you're not in a passionate position with a passionate company and all of that good stuff.
So let's count them down. Confidence, network, risk, passion, fun, and challenge. Challenge, passion, fun. We'll do 6. We'll link passion and fun because, I mean, I'll agree with you. That's where you get all the energy to do all of it. Hey, I expended all this energy. It was a risk. It may have not have worked, but I learned XYZ from it.
And everything we do, we're learning. And I do this thing where I learn something new once a week. And it can be something as simple as a sea bass recipe, or it could be something as hard as a certification for a public board. But I'm constantly learning. And I think really using just a weekly task like that and having fun with it, you're learning and you're seeing what you like and what you don't like. And I don't like making sea bass, so I don't have to make it ever again. But I think you just learn a lot. And when you keep your mind fresh, you're having that growth mindset. And you're also opening the doors to your creative thinking.
Definitely. And you can talk about it with others.
Yeah, it's also a very good cocktail conversation when I tell people that the last dancing class last weekend.
While you're networking.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you for the time today. I think what we wanted to focus on for this first segment was career, and then look forward to some new segments on leadership and influence. I mean, there's a lot here. Workplace dynamics, culture. We should talk about DEI because it's an interesting road right now for DEI, and Melissa has a lot of experience on her previous roles related to DEI activities, but more in the future. And thank you very much for joining us today, Melissa, and look forward to the future.
Thank you. Me too. This is fun.